Hey guys, Stealth here. Time to give that Eurocorp Airborne deck a spin, see if it works for me. I'm here on the Floods map, and it was a big 10v10 as you can see. I started out with 1400 points, which I could deploy, so it was a very high start. Contrary to the other games, it was a pretty low income game though. We usually had a +1 or +2. Now, special notice, I was on TeamSpeak with all 10 of these guys. Or I should say all 9, because I was the 10th, of course. This made it so that we could coordinate, we could call in artillery strikes. I'm not going to say that the opposition didn't really stand a chance, but there were some less experienced players here. So if you don't like watching a replay of a team getting, well, pretty much ruffle stomped, then just stop watching here. If you're still watching, let's see what I'm bringing in here. My objective is to take over this area and to drop off my infantry here. It is not the best position because there's only some forests here, some small lines of cover that I can use for my infantry. These forests which are divided by a field, so it's also a hard position to get into, and storming this town is something that's just out of the question because it's right next to a spawn zone. I just wanted to be here, be a distraction, be an annoyance, and that worked out very well. Now, another thing to note about this game is that 5 of the Red 4 players were using a support deck. Let that sink in. 5 of their players were using support. So it was a ton of smirch fire, standard artillery fire, mortars, the works. We had, I think, 1, maybe 2 support players of our own. And they were all situated pretty much around here. You can see a Mars, an LRM, another LRM, another Mars, more Marses by 6 gun 12. So we had a lot of stuff standing by to counter all of the artillery for Red 4. Now, as it was my objective to go across this river, I'm bringing in quite some infantry which is airborne. Of course, all the infantry is airborne, but what I'm bringing in here is important. 2 units of Commandos Para and the Pirates, 1 Panther with Commando Infantry, Commando Marines, 1 card of CH-53Gs with Fallschirmjäger 90, and 1 card of Puma 330H with AA, so my Mistrals. Sending my CV to make sure Oscar is captured, and over here we got the Warden who has to offload his CV. We got a couple of Caesars here. Bit of a weird positioning by 6 gun 12, since these things usually run out of ammo really quickly, but he has my fob here to resupply. Other units I'm bringing in is 2 Crotals and 1 VBL Mistral, which I'm going to keep on this side of the river to make sure that I can spot incoming threats and deal with them as they appear. Now, escorting this helicopter landing force was 2 Tiger HAPs, so the AA version, and 2 Celtics to make sure that if there were more helicopters than the HAPs could handle, I could give them some support. Also some air cover, a Rafale CF-1 and an F-4F KWS, providing more air cover and spotting enemy helicopters as they would appear here. So far nothing, so I'm pushing across. And you can see that we got quite a large column. Look at all this. This is 10v10 NATO style moving out. Let's see what we'll got moving across here. Leopards, STRVs, Bradleys, Leopard 1s, Gepards, Noahs or Hawks. Anyway, in the meanwhile I was getting in trouble here. I just lost my Rafale to 2 MiG-29s, so that was a very unfortunate loss right at the start there. And since there was also AA coming in, I had to offload my infantry quickly. And I realized at this point that my Tiger HAPs were going to be very ineffective against these Hypnorites, which are AA units. They're not stellar, but they can be pretty annoying. And I lose both my Celtics in one go here. They both got blown up. MiG-29, an Su-27 even comes in, 2 of them from Velber, and he managed to destroy 1 of my HAPs. I think that this is going to kill whatever is left. A couple of Sopels destroyed my other HAP, so I lost a very high amount of points right at the get-go. And I only scored 300. Now I did manage to land most of my forces, if not all of them. But now the question is, can I get them in cover fast enough? There is an Mi-24V coming in, so I immediately put my Mistrals on attack move to make sure that as soon as they got in range they could engage that helicopter. Which they did, one hit on them. And you can see I'm getting artilleried here, so I'm moving these guys away. There goes a 100-point helicopter. More helos inbound, Mi-25s. A lot less expensive, but still very, very lethal. And again, the Mistrals are at it and taking them out. And there go 2 helicopters. So, one group of 2 Mistrals. Cost me 60 points for the Mistrals, and I think they came in the standard Puma 330. So that's 100 points, and they already scored 220 points, so well done there. Now, I have my infantry more or less in cover, except for the Mistrals. These guys really gotta run towards this cover, otherwise the T-62s are gonna get a shot at them, and that's not what I want to have happen. Now this forest, I'm gonna pause it here before the action continues, is a bit weird. Normally a forest is only on one plane, so say it's only in the valley. This one is on 2 planes. You can see that there's this steep terrain here, where a tank could not shoot down at. And I hadn't expected that my infantry would be up here, so this is why the tanks managed to get a shot at the infantry, and not, for example, a shot at the commando marines, supposing that they could have seen those. My paras unfortunately did take a big hit. There's only 3 of the 10 left. And I'm pushing these up as well. The fact that they were using T-62s told me that they were not that experienced, and the fact that they were trying to use cluster artillery on my infantry was also another sign that these guys were probably not the most experienced players. Now in the meanwhile we have a huge fight going on here on the right flank. Keep in mind I'm pretty isolated here. There's no one else supporting me on this flank other than some of the artillery players. We do have a ton of forces moving up here. Look at this, M1A1 Abrams, Rifleman, Stingers, Smalls, they got Morskayas countering those. LAVMs, look at where these things are. This is mortar fired from the river, a position where they might not be expected. We got a floating ACAV, a 551. And I believe that on the right flank there were some M1A2s, which managed to survive the entire battle. These M1A2s did an amazing job here by Paravelum. Now, I am dealing with a couple of T-62s. Fallschirmjäger take a beating. Commando Para unfortunately miss. So I'm going to move up with the Commando Marines, but I was messing up with the attack order a little bit, so it took me a while to get these guys actually moving. And I managed to destroy my Commando Para Recon Infantry. Destroyed 1 tank, destroyed the second one and the third one. Now it's time to run away from here, because I do not want to be engaging Sopols at this range, since I don't have the range with either, or with any of my weapons really, to go after these Sopols. So no go, falling back to the forest. Now I do still have some helicopters here. I'm pulling those away as well to make sure they're not going to get shot down by the Sopols. They're not that expensive, but I don't want to lose them. It will add, of course, to my kill-death ratio, so I'm just getting those guys to safety as quickly as possible. Now, my flank really isn't that interesting. There's not that much going on. We can see some units being artied here, or counter-artied here. 6gun 12 was not really paying attention, so I put out a defense marker and told him to get to my fob to get repaired and rearmed. Before that incoming counterfire destroyed those Caesars. You do not want to get a couple of Caesars destroyed. It's going to really hurt your artillery units and your point value. Now let's see how they're doing in the middle. I was quite busy on my left flank trying to get some damage done and keep these guys alive. So I didn't really pay attention in the middle, but look at the amount of forces here. Fenix, M1A1s or M1IPs, Bradleys, a bit close together here, these two by miles. A bit weird, seeing 2 of these Bradleys, which are pretty expensive, 75 and 60, this close together. Especially with their back towards the enemy. That's definitely weird. And over here on the right flank, we got Paravelum with his M1A2s. We got Caro an warrior, except that you spell it in reverse. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. They're pushing up and doing quite a bit of damage here. Scores are 1700 points ahead, so we are leading by 1700. And over here, Bodai seems to be in trouble after meeting a couple of BTR 90s up close. But some Fallschirmjäger base version should take care of that pretty damn quick. Now you can see some red blips on my radar, or at least on my map. I'm trying to get these guys into a bigger forest where I have more maneuvering room to make sure that my units don't get artilleried, for example, or napalmed here. It's a bit of a risky maneuver, but keeping them in there was pretty much certain death. So if you have a situation like this where you have fast infantry moving at 30 kph, try and get them across. I was very worried about my Mistrals because they only run at 15 kph. So on the one hand they were too slow to keep up, on the other hand it was not that bad because my Commander Marines were taking a beating from mortars or standard artillery fire. And there's a Q5D with a couple of precision bombs coming in, doing a bombing run and killing off 2 more Commander Marines, which killed off that squad. And here come more fighters, which surprisingly are doing a strafing run. Possibly because they know I don't have a lot of AA here. And we didn't have any fighters or any other units that could help out. Crotals were not going to be in range, and they killed off a Gazelle here on the left flank. Now to add to my infantry troubles, or my worries for my infantry here, a couple of Afghanskis show up by Velber. I'm fighting here against Jonas and Velber, and possibly, yeah, here's Shan 18. These are Jonas's fighters. So 2, maybe 3 players who are actively operating in this flank. And I'm just trying to keep my guys alive, trying to spot targets for the artillery. Although, of course, 2 Afghanskis is not that much of an interesting target. There were many more interesting targets and cluster artillery that needed to be countered, which definitely took priority over my operations. Over here I parked my infantry in the outskirts of the forest to make sure they were not going to be that much of a target and they could still see something. That napalm bomb got me worried, but in the end it managed to hit nothing. The Mistral survived, 1 out of my 5 guys, and 1 group got destroyed. Well, so be it. But at least none of these guys actually got hurt. And then to top it all off, he went at it with mortar fire. So he was doing a lot to get rid of these troops. If you're faced with a situation like this, where you know that I'm unlikely to have any more AA, the best option would be to bring 2 or 3 Yak 38s and just napalm this entire forest. That will either force me to get out of the forest or leave my units in there to die, which is neither a very attractive option, but it'll make it very easy for you to get rid of enemy infantry. And especially because it's your half. I mean, I don't even have an air superiority fighter up here because my F4F either got destroyed or took heavy damage and is being repaired. So there's not really anything to worry about. Your bombers or helicopters should be pretty clear to operate here. Now you can see that over here on the right flank, the offensive by the Warden, backed up by Parabellum's Abrams, is going very well. A couple of VDVs doing quite a bit of damage to this Abrams. And there you go, that's the Abrams down. So in response, a couple of IFVs try to support and instead get fired at by some Spetsnaz-GRU. Spetsnaz-GRU take a lot of fire. On the one hand, it was the right move to make here, coming out of this forest and trying to get a shot off. On the other hand, there was a lot of Blue Force stuff. You may have seen that I just lost my Commando Para on their left flank. I think that the Mi-2 spotted them, and that consequently they got destroyed by mortar fire. Now there was some very, very nice maneuvering going on here by the Warden. He had FKP and Jaeger 90, although these guys were slightly wounded. They had 4 out of 10 left. If they can find the CV and Alpha, that's going to neutralize their air input. Because the other zone, Gulf, does not have an air supply. That might sound a little dramatic. They don't have an air reinforcement zone, so they can only bring in land units. So it was definitely interesting for us to bring in or to destroy the CV that was out here. And he came in from exactly the right flank. A lot of cover here. It's all connected cover, so you don't have to worry about having to jump across a big road or an open field. So he had a decent chance of actually finding the enemy here. Su-27S coming in. And in the meanwhile, the right flank here managed to neutralize this sector. Managed to neutralize the command zone. Now this is something that I wanted to highlight as well. This VBL Mistral was on this side of the river. And I know that these guys are amphibious. And pretty fast amphibious too. 48 kilometers per hour. So I just told this thing to float across the water. Because that was a unit that was relatively safe of doing so, and since I lost my other reconnaissance, I had to get something in here that could do that. I also brought in the Tiger Head to make sure I could support the Fallschirmjäger and the Command Marines here a little bit. And instead I encounter BRDM-2, which gets destroyed. Tiger Head fortunately did not take any damage. But I do want to spot these Hebronites before they come in and get some more shots at my infantry. You can see that mortars are added again. Not doing a lot of damage though. So, on the one hand, this was a very, very interesting game because for me it was the first time I was doing a 10v10 coordinated. On the other hand, there was not really that much action going on for me. I did get a nice score, 1160, mostly because I managed to shoot down some helicopters and some planes with the Mistrals. And I'm operating here in the middle every now and then with a seaplane. But other than that, I didn't get to do a whole lot because you don't have a lot of income. The income's being spread out across 10 players. And that means that you got to be really careful about what you bring in, where you bring it in. I could reinforce this flank, or I could, for example, bring a helicopter, which is not found here. So a helicopter like an HAP might have been helpful against Mi-28. It's really a question of coordination and how fast and where you want to bring in your units. But being airborne on a map this big definitely gave me a lot of flexibility, because you can just quickly insert infantry here. You can go with a jet and help out there. You can send some helicopters to help out with the middle. You're really a flexible deck. You're not that capable of holding a flank alone, although me being here did force them to spend some of their attention here, trying to find these units. Sending some bombers here every now and then, sending mortar fire. You can see that they're definitely trying to kill my guys, and they're succeeding as well. But I wasn't really doing a lot of damage here. My head is operating in the middle now, trying to get a shot at some of these units, and this was a Chinese HGM carrier, long range. And it got hit by a hot missile here. Destroyed for 50 points. So I just stole a couple more points here. And then we spot a couple of Nonas, which were being annoying for most of the game. So not only me, but also, I'm not even sure how to call this guy, put down an attack marker. And I noticed what's going on here. My head had to run away from these 913s because they were very, very dangerous to my head. Instead, it managed to survive, and I managed to lure one of these fighters, or both of these fighters, over the lines of the chaparral, which was my aim. Of course, I was very happy that this thing survived as it did that. Had this helicopter had less than 8 strength, it would have been dead. So I was very, very happy about this thing being so well built, if you will. You can see that there's some artillery fire from these 109Gs. 6-gun 12 was supporting me, and I was marking targets for him every now and then, or requesting artillery support as my units saw something. Still patrolling the area with my VBL, trying to get more targets for artillery. And this thing has exceptional, sorry, not exceptional, it has very good optics, but I still got to be careful because a VBL is harder to hide than infantry. They are fast, however, so you can see me not taking the road here, just quickly dashing from cover to cover. Using the road might have exposed me to any units that were in there. Fortunately though, there was nothing there that could really hurt me. So moving up, and I spot these 2 Sopels. And this is where I make a big mistake. I'm bringing in a Tornado IDS. in hopes that this jet with its 4 bombs can destroy the Sopels. And it can definitely destroy the Sopels, that's not the problem. What I didn't do was send in an escort with this unit. And by escort I mean a seaplane. So what's going to happen, as you will probably expect, is that there's going to be long range AA. Missile should be going up right about now. There. Niwa SC. Extremely long range, 4.5 clicks. So these things can really touch your bombers before the bombers even get a chance to release. Because this thing just released. If the Niwa had been, for example, there, it would have been in range before I would have been able to release my bombs. And it would have been probably stunning the Tornado IDS. I managed to release. I'm going to slow this down a little. Trying to evac the plane. And there go the bombs. Here comes the missile. It hits my fighter, or my bomber. And that hit took it down to 1 HP. And then the Sopels finish it off, of course. There goes my expensive 140 point jet. Coming down back to Earth. A lot faster than I had expected. The one good thing, I managed to kill the Sopels. But it was a trade of 2 45 pointers, so a 90 point victory for me, if you will, at the expense of a 140 point bomber, so that was not good. Put an attack marker here requesting artillery support, and I think it was 6 Gun 2 who immediately responded and provided me with fire support here. I think though that the Niwa will make it out of there alive. Let's see. Is it still here? No, they managed to make it. Yeah, it managed to make it away. It is panicked, is running out of fuel, but it's still alive. Now, over here, I had my Tiger get rearmed and especially repaired. That was the most important part, since it had only 1 block of health left. So flying it back out to the front, and you can see that I'm being really careful with this helicopter, in the sense that with its 1 HP, I'm not sending it back out. I just want to keep it alive because it is an expensive helo for 110 points. You don't want to lose this because it would take me 2 to 3 minutes to get enough points to get one of these back again. As you can see though, the rest of the map is almost completely in blue for hands now. They managed to capture this sector, Charlie. They managed to capture Foxtrot. Oh sorry, I'm looking at this map sideways, that's why I'm so confused. Of course they managed to capture Foxtrot. This is our starting zone. Complete moment of shit to the brain. They managed to capture Bravo. That is a zone that we didn't have yet. M1A2's still kicking ass here. Taking some damage, otherwise they wouldn't be panicked. But come on, T62 MVs versus an M1A2, it's too easy. I'm helping out a little bit here in the middle with my Tiger Hat, trying to get some shots at some of these units. 15 point unit, just a low point kill. And I spot a BMPT, which is another nice target, because my allies over here, which was Caro, were moving up with some infantry. And that's not something that you want to have infantry engage. A BMPT, very, very lethal. And you can see there was a bit of miscommunication here between Caro and whoever was operating these mortars. Might have been this guy, it might have been someone else, I don't know, but the infantry was being artilleried by friendly units. There goes the BMP, 70 points for me. Had fired off 7 of its Hot 2 missiles, so time to fall back a little bit more, because I wasn't sure about how the AA situation was here. And this is actually the first time I'm noticing a red blip here. But Pathfinders managed to shoot down that reconnaissance helo, and it goes down in that forest. As you can see, my guys are still here. Maybe the enemy players thought that they got them all. Maybe they're not looking for them because I'm not causing any trouble here. I was just gonna keep these guys alive, that was my objective. I did not want to lose units like the Fallschirmjäger for 35 points or Commando Marines for 40. Even as they couldn't really do anything, they were still here and they were still alive, and I wanted to keep it that way. Bit unfortunate here as my helicopters are getting artilleried. And I hope that I noticed this in time. I'm not sure if I did. So I might not pull this helicopter out in time. Nona's got spotted again, and there's some scratch heads and even a UAZ that got spotted. The fact that there's a UAZ that was parked right out in the open here, instead of either in forest cover there or for example with an infantry command here, really shows you that these guys were not that experienced. And that's also why we are 5,000 points ahead. Helo push came in here from the left flank and they are cleaning up the rest of it now. Here goes another helicopter down, an Mi-24 Hind reconnaissance, and a Sokol taking heavy fire, mostly from tanks and KM900s, not from AA, because the LRECs were not in range yet. Let's see how the M1A1s or M1A2s are doing. This one's still here, still kicking ass, and the other one is out on the front line, also still alive. Now, a couple of Sopols came in. Here's the first one that was destroyed, and the second one got blown up too, so that's another 90 points. Killed by the Commander Marine. Immediately move away from this side of the forest, because artillery response is likely in this situation. Now, you may have noticed that more and more Red 4 players were starting to leave. We've seen Drunken Hans leave, Warhead just left, General Do Something left, Velber left, Chief left, Shan 18 left. The more people leave, the more you can expect rushing tactics or spam tactics, where the enemy just uses a ton of similar units because they get such a high amount of them. And later on in the game you are going to see exactly that, as the enemy uses a large amount of, I believe it's MiG-29s, who are trying to just, I don't know, create an air superiority cover over the middle of the field here, over Echo. Even as we don't have any air assets that they can destroy. But you're going to see that in a couple of minutes. I'm going to push this game up a little bit. You can see that they pulled the Hotel CV away. I'm not sure where it went. It might have gotten RD'd. I don't think so, really. They might have pulled it away towards Golf or towards Alpha. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah, I think this one was here in position. I'm not too sure where it went, actually. This was a bit unfortunate. And fortunate at the same time, really. I encounter a couple of Hypnorids, those AA units. They're very cheap, they're not accurate, they don't have a good range. And especially the accuracy being bad and the fact that they had cover here, that they had to shoot through this forest, made it so that they couldn't really see my CH-53. And I put down an attack marker immediately. Let's see where that fire support's coming from. Probably from the Caesars and these 109s. That is what saved my units. Because now my CH-53 can make it out and the Ferns players actually made it in. So thanks very much to, I think it was 6gun 12 over here. Yeah, definitely 6gun 12 who supported me very, very well on this position. Interesting to see that now I switched it to neutral that they had Rizvetkas in here. I had no idea that these guys were in here. The only thing that I saw was a reconnaissance unit flying in, a helicopter that got shot down about there. They might have forgotten about this unit, or they're just trying to spot whatever is in here. But at least they're not trying to go after my command unit here, which really, really helps. Now again, we're going to speed it up a little. Nanion Shikijis against infantry. If they're at range, they're great with that grenade launcher. And you can see just how quickly, combined with the other infantry, they managed to neutralize that infantry. Now, again, very, very close. Warrior almost got hit by the napalm, which was dropped by a friendly bomber. So that's something that really you need to be careful with. Even if you're on TeamSpeak together, stuff like that can still cost you quite a bit of points. M1A2 pushing up on its own. Pretty damn aggressive. but as far as we can see it's only T-62s, which take a large amount of damage from the main gun of this Abrams. But the Abrams will at some point need either refueling and or rearming and some repairs. So it's important that they capture these FOBs pretty damn quick, otherwise they might not make it. But a couple of Fennecs show up from the Warden to support and back up these Abrams. What they really could use here is reconnaissance though. There goes another one. BMP 1D is getting destroyed now. Over here on the left flank has been neutralized by 6 Gun 12 with a reconnaissance helicopter, no less. And yeah, seeing as this game's over, I'm just going to speed it up a little and have these Abrams do what they do best. There's the command vehicle. Abrams engage, Abrams destroy it. Now they're running out of fuel and out of ammo. Just the amount of ammo that these things have fired is insane. And Red 4 responds by artillerying this zone with HE damage. You can see it is not cluster because it's not all of those small bomblets or small craters. 182s have been repaired and rearmed, so they're back on the road. And in the meanwhile I'm pushing up with my HAD, which had still survived, and the Tiger. And the Tiger thought, well, it's a CV, let's just use ATGMs, why not? There goes the CV, and that's the end of the game. I managed to destroy 1900 points of units, which I was quite surprised about, because I felt like I wasn't doing that much. I was providing some cover and support on the left flank, holding it mostly, but not much else. So the units that I managed to pick off with my seed, some aircraft I managed to destroy, but I didn't show that in the replay. And some kills by my infantry, for example those Sopols, really did help the team. Lost 1000 points, mostly due to the initial force that I lost. That was with the 2 Celtics, that's 140. The 2 Tigers that I have is another 200 points. So that was my almost 400 point loss in the beginning. And then I made some stupid mistakes with fighters. For example, the Rafale that I sent out on its own, or actually backed up by an F4S, an F4KWS. But both of them got shot down eventually. Let's see, the other guys did a great job as well. Parabellum, the guy with his M1A2s, the Warden supporting him. 6 Gun 12 with our support player, and that's why he lost almost no units. Help me help you. I think that this is another artillery player, or he's just a very, very skilled guy, considering he only lost 150 points. And Red 4, yeah, what can I say? They were pretty inexperienced guys, but some of them stuck in here. They did not surrender, and I think that the only one that was left in the end was Ducky. So Ducky, very, very good job not surrendering to the enemy. Now with that, it's the end of the replay. I am still looking for a replay that shows off an armored deck. So if you have any, please let me know and send it in through the link in the description. Because I'm looking for a great armored replay where we can actually see how you are making the best use of these tanks. Doesn't have to be perfect, just send me what you have and I'll have a look at it. With that, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit like. And if you have a comment or request for another video or a guide or whatever about Wargame, let me know in the comments. Look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.